This will be an overview of the Quickdraw weaving program's grid view and graphic entry of a pattern. And I find that one of the most powerful tools. With the normal warp weft editor, I've got to manipulate the warp, the tie-up, and or the weft in order to make a change in the pattern. Now I can get to the grid by either looking at the graph paper icon here or go to the view and graphic entry of a pattern. Now I actually have a blank sheet of paper and I can make any change on it I want to. For example, if I import the draft, it's recomputed the threading sequence, and if I make it change, it immediately makes the change in the threading, the tie-up, and the treadling, so I can actually immediately see what I'm doing. The export draft would send that back over to the warp weft editor as a threading, treadling, and tie-up sequence, so I can manipulate that. Now I also have an ability of, for example, if I find an image I want in a clip art someplace, if I copy the image, I come back over, if I actually paste that image, if I scroll out enough, I can now see that image is there. I can then edit that, do block substitution on that, manipulate that however I want to. That will work on bitmaps, full color images. Color and Weave will actually take a color threading diagram and regenerate the threading, treadling, and tie-up sequences. Now the other thing I can also do, let me zoom into a corner here, and I've got a straight line tool. I can actually create a weaving structure. Say I just want a little 1-3 twill. Once I select that, I can copy that. I can now actually paste that. I can grab the paste tool, and as I can fill as much of that as I want to, and as I move the mouse up, down, left, or right, it actually reverses the patterns so that I can basically create a symmetric image of that. And the other thing I can also do, I've got that image selected. I want to do a 3-1 twill, do something different, and turn on the symmetry tools and zoom out to the middle of the page, in a little bit there. Grab a freehand tool. I can now actually automate symmetry so I can create whatever interesting pattern I want to. If I decide I like that pattern, I can now take that. I could substitute the 1-3-3-1 twills I had. I could do the substitution. It's now given me that pattern. I could export that as a draft back out, work with that. If I do the undo, that pattern's probably going to be a little large. Well, let me just take the middle of it. If I want to, I can now go also, within a profile view, I can go to threading. And if I ask for thumbnails, it's going to show me what that block pattern would look like in each one of the threading substitutions. So I can now convert that straight into a threading diagram from there. And if I want a reference, for example, I can also, for example, give me a circle. It just shows me if I want to trace something. I can also do reference lines vertically, horizontally, if I want reference lines, so I've got drawing utilities. And then I'll later walk through the rest of the control tools and some of the other features I just glossed over there. Thank you. Okay, this will be an update to the grid view overview for Quickdraw versions 5.3 and 5.4. Now you can tell by a quick glance the drop-down menu has gotten a lot larger since I'm finding as time goes on there's more and more functional capability I can do on the grid as a convenient way to look at things. Now the first comment, I've updated the shrink function here. Shrink was originally written if you started with a large image and shrink it down with a general image to be able to do block substitutions or to draw it, whatever. That was a convenient tool. What I was finding as time goes on, this was a block substitution with a 1-3-3-1 twills from a profile draft. And those were a little harder to deal with. What I've added is a different tool here. And if I select like that 4x4 block, that would tell me the aspect ratio that it's trying to deal with. When I hit the pound sign, that set it to shrink it so that what it will do is look 4 threads by 4 threads. And if I select an area I want it down, so I can pick the whole pattern. I'm working with one hand here. So if I now hit the shrink button, it converts, it looks at each one of those 4x4 chunks, like this was, that for block example would be interpreted as primarily weft. and so that it converts the darker boxes to dark, the lighter boxes to light. So I essentially can use that as a tool for converting from a threading draft back to a profile draft. So that turns out to be a fairly convenient little tool. Now, let me undo. And the other thing I could also do, for example, I've got that area selected. The earlier versions of Quickdraw have been able to save an image as a text. So if you're doing it into Excel or something, you could import it that way and see an image. This also now will import it as an image. This now will take that, and if I hit the Save to Clipboard image, you'll notice the message that it saved it. If I go to Paint, Control V, so what I had selected here has now been saved as a bitmap. You could paste that into any other software in general. It's very small, but it's a standard format for the way the fabric analysis pages and the other software are done. Now the other functions will be covered by different videos because there's a lot of capability here. The other tools allow you to explore structures, to merge structures, to blend structures, to layer structures, or just flat out explore brand new non-existent structures. So there's some very powerful tools there, but that gives me the general overview. Thank you.